Alright, good afternoon. Are you Amy Smith?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to
Rachel
meet you.
Hack. I'm a social worker here at
Nice to
Public
meet you.
Assistance. Before we get started, can I get you anything to drink?
I brought my own, thank you.
Good. How's your day been so far?
It's been busy, but that's normal.
Yeah, anything exciting happening right now?
No, not really. Gina's schedule.
Oh, okay.
Getting her
Good.
to and from places. So.
Yeah. Alright. Well, as I said before, my name is Rachel Hauk. I'm a social worker here at Public Assistance.
Did you say Howcom or Hauk?
Hauk.
Hauk, okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure I had it right.
That's fine. Happens to a lot of people, and it's a tricky last name sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're just going to be talking about just your situation, so I can get a better understanding of what's going on, and so that you can kind of like walk me through it all.
Okay.
All your role is today is just to be as open and honest with me as possible. That's just going to make everything go a lot smoother.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, I work here at Public Assistance. I'm a social worker. We have a very strict confidentiality policy, so anything you disclose will stay between us.
Okay.
The only exception would be if you disclose anything about being harmed or you harming anybody. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah? Okay. Before we continue, do you have any questions for me before we get started?
I don't believe so.
Okay, good.
They may pop up, but...
Yeah, alright. Feel free to stop me anytime if you have any questions.
Okay.
So, first just tell me a little bit about what brought you in here today.
So, I've been married for a long time, but my husband recently passed away.
So sorry.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
So I have a disabled daughter who lives with me. We adopted her a few years ago. Well, it's been a while now. But so she is reliant on me for a lot of her care, and getting her to and from her activities, and she, as of now, is not able to have an income.
Okay.
So that makes budgets really tight. My husband was a farmer, and so we never had a lot of money, but now I was a stay-at-home mom, and so I don't have a career or an income of any sort, and we live on a farm that I have been able to rent out, but worried about not being able to bring in enough income to maintain it. In fact, it's not looking good, and so I just need to know my options, especially for a home for Gina, and keeping her safe, but also, I mean, we need a roof over our heads, and even until next month, it's looking not great. So.
Okay, so ever since your husband has passed, you're just having a really hard time with finances, with you and your daughter, Gina. Tell me a little bit more about your financial situation, what that looks like.
So, as of right now, the only thing coming in is a little bit of Social Security, and it's not good. My husband brought in just enough we could get by from year to year, depending on subsidies and farm conditions and crops, but I mean, now he was the one who works the farm. I can do a little bit, but not while also taking care of Gina.
Yeah, of course.
So we've rented out parts of the farm, but we still have a mortgage. It's not good. So we have very small checks, and Gina has a little bit of disability that comes in, and a little bit of that government assistance in that way, but it's enough to put meals on the table and electricity, but not much else.
Okay, so since passing of your husband, you haven't really been able to keep up the farm as well, and you're just really kind of struggling with making ends meet.
Yes, very much.
Okay. You mentioned your daughter Gina. Tell me a little bit more about your relationship with her.
Struggles sometimes, mostly because she is an adult now, so she has that feeling that she wants to be independent, but she really is not able to be. So right now it's trying to help her understand that we don't have a lot of money, because she wants to go out and do things she has a really great group of friends, but really trying to give her all the independence I can, while also being like, she needs someone there. We are pretty close, which is good. She tells me a lot, but I mean, she's around 20, so typical 20-year-old and wants to do her own thing. So
Yeah, that's very common for that kind of feeling to happen when kids reach that age, just
yes.
their own little, wanting to be off on their own.
Yes, she's hit her angst stage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of course. So you have a really great relationship with your daughter, just going through normal phases.
yes.
Um,
And it wasn't helped when her father died.
yeah,
So, especially since it took her a lot longer to understand what was happening than my other two children, who are adults and have their own families. So it was harder on Gina, which made it harder on me because she was there. So.
Yeah, so your daughter Gina has had a little bit of a struggle since the passing of your husband.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you've been handling it.
The grief comes and goes. It's off and on, and it's getting better day by day as there's a new normal. I miss him a lot. We had a good marriage, so yeah, I think the stress of finances and keeping up the farm and Gina have kind of delayed certain grieving processes, but it's okay.
Yeah, so you're still grieving, and that feeling of loss is there, but
Definitely.
you're pushing through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's great. It's never easy losing a loved one, so and especially since you have your daughter to kind of push you through it, that's a great thing to have.
Yes, it motivates me to move past it.
Of course, yeah. So now that we've talked a little bit about your financial situation and your relationship with Gina, tell me a little bit more about any relationships with anyone else in your community that you have.
I am a part of a few organizations, some having to do with Gina and parent organizations with the special needs community. So that's a great system of support. I love my church community, and I have a group of ladies that we get together and we play cards every couple weeks. But, I mean, mostly it was me and my husband and Gina. So now it's mostly me and Gina. But I do have some really dear friends in the community. So if we move, I would really like to stay close.
Yeah. So you do have great relationships outside of your immediate family, just with friends around the community.
Yes.
And that's wonderful. I'm really glad that you have those external supports outside of just family. It's a really good thing to have during hard times.
And my other two children are also very supportive. So.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, since you're here talking about your future living situation, just tell me a little bit about what you would hope for your future living.
I would need somewhere that was good for Gina as well, because unfortunately at this time she's not in a place where I would feel comfortable letting her be by herself necessarily, nor do I think she's ready for that. Yeah. And our community doesn't necessarily have great group housing or anything like that for her, so I would need a 2-bedroom place for sure. She occasionally would need, depending on what's going on, I foresee a future where we may need wider door frames, but not necessarily right now. So there's the possibility of waiting on that, but if I was looking into a place that was long term, I would want somewhere that was accessible. Also, I mean, I'm aging, so it would be helpful.
Yeah.
I would definitely I'm not incredibly picky about a house or apartment or anything like that. I just want to make sure we're in a safe neighborhood and a safe environment. I mean, as safe as possible with finances, but especially since Gina, she wants to be independent, I'd like to be able to let her go places by bus or by herself. She can't drive, but if she could be within walking distance of safe neighborhoods, that would be good.
Okay, so really you're just looking for somewhere that you can afford that is good for you and Gina, and that might be close in distance to some of the places that Gina frequents, just so she can still have that taste of
very much
independence.
Yeah, because as of right now, what I do is I drop her off a few blocks away, so that her friends think that she walked places. Since we live in the country, but it would be very nice to live somewhere where either I could do that quickly or she could walk.
Yeah, of course. So tell me a little bit about any special needs that physically that Gina might need within a housing situation?
In the future, we're looking at wheelchairs.
Okay.
But for now, she is pretty independent. She would. She can't. She doesn't have like a reach. So it would be good to have things in lower cabinets. We're both a little clumsy, but obviously Gina a little bit more. So a little bit wider corners and things. But as Gina ages, she will be needing like walking assistance.
Okay, so you're looking for somewhere that has maybe wider door frames, maybe a little bit more wheelchair accessible.
Yes, maybe not like a third or fourth story, including getting up there. So I want to make sure that it's someplace we could stay for a good while, mostly because Gina, I'm not sure how she's going to handle the move, or how I'm going to mentally handle the move, so I'd like to know that we're staying there for at least a few years. So that it's consistent for her as well, and looking ahead, being like we would either need an elevator system or be on probably the bottom floor of an apartment complex.
Okay, so preferably somewhere that's first floor or maybe has wheelchair accessible elevators, things like that, just to make it a little bit easier on both of you. Okay, so there are a couple things that you might qualify for. We do have Section 8 housing, which is designed for low income and the elderly and disabled. There are several apartments around town that have options like that might be available for you. And then we also, where did my paper go? There it is. We also have possibly, there's this new program called a Housing Choice Voucher Program, which gives you a little bit more say in where you move to. There will be certain places that qualify. There are certain recommendations they all have to meet, but then you would get more of a choice of like location instead of just being like, this is it.
Oh, that feels good. Okay.
Yeah, so that might be an option. And then depending on like your direct finances and exactly how much you are bringing in through disability and Social Security and like life insurance from your husband, things like that, you may qualify for mortgage assistance programs, which would let you stay in your house. That would really just depend on like us sitting down, going through your forms and finances and figuring out whether or not that might be an option. Would that be something you might be interested in?
Very, yes. I mean, depending on how that works out, I would be willing, obviously, I'm here to move. But if we can stay, I think that would be probably best for Gina. We did modify our home about 10 years ago so that it would be accessible for her. So it would be really great if we could stay. But I completely understand if I'm not eligible.
Yeah, okay. So you have taken steps already to kind of invest in Gina's future disabilities, which is, that's wonderful that you guys have taken that many steps. So here is this has more information on those different programs. You can just take that home and between now and our next visit, just kind of look over it. I think that way you have more of a better understanding, and then we can kind of delve into that more in the next meeting.
Is there someone I can contact if between the next visit and now, if like I'm looking over it with my son, if I have questions, is there someone I can contact?
Yes. When we get ready to leave, I will give you my business card that has my name, my office number, and my email. And again, feel free to ask me any questions about that later on. If you don't have any like specific questions now, but later on you do. So as we get ready to wrap up, just for next meeting, again, just like look over that, kind of get a feel of what maybe might you think work best for you. And then also, if possible, maybe bring in some of your financial records. We can sit down, go through them together next time, and kind of figure out maybe which ones you definitely qualify for, and maybe if there's any that we can't get you in, that'll help us just kind of have a better grasp on everything that's going on with you. Before we head out, do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so. I think this is really good, and if I have your business card, you'll probably get an email from me or my son. He lives in Indianapolis. So I told him I was meeting and we were going to go over this later. this week to figure this out. Yeah.
That's great that you have, that he's willing to spend that time in helping you. That's wonderful.
Very much.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the rest of your day looking like? Got anything fun planned?
No, not really. In about an hour, Gina's group activity is done. So just dinner and probably a movie in.
Oh, that's so much fun. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you get to hang out with her and have
it's
fun
very
time
nice.
like that.
Mhm.
All right. Well, like I said before, my name's Rachel. On our way up, I'll get you that business card so you can
Great.
feel free to contact me. It's been really nice meeting you.
It's so good to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.